Hello, 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 hello. British People's League. British People's League International Director John Beattie, if I may use such a title. Somebody has to be directing things. So how are you today? Haven't spoken to you since St. George's Day, April 23rd. The takeoff video. Best hits and visits of any of the videos we've done so far. Had many compliments, which I appreciate, especially when I made a few boo-boos lining up the dates. And my apologies to our friends in Australia. I quoted the wrong date for Australia Day. Forgive me. Aussies, forgive me. And yet, I've got a good audience. When I make these goofs, nobody mentions the goofs. I guess they're just pleased that we're on air, we're on YouTube videos. BritishPeoplesLeague.com. And to get in touch with us, BritishCanada@gmail.com. BritishCanada@gmail.com. A couple of new additions in the background today. We've got a beautiful poster received from our friend in Ottawa, good friend of the British People's League, actually a few posters. I don't think you can quite read the wording under the portrait of Queen Victoria behind me there on the wall. The big banner across the good old Union Jack is immigration, and then in the bar of the Cross of St. George is a pair of eyeballs that just don't look Anglo-Saxon. And then the bottom caption is immigration, open your eyes. It's quite a poster. We're going to try and get them reprinted so we can mail a few out to our friends, blind copy list, whatever. So here we are, May 5th, 2013. British People's League, BritishPeoplesLeague.com, on air at you. Sometimes, like anyone, you sit back and you think, is there enough response out there? But we always go back to quality. We have quality friends of the British People's League. And I'm going to read to you almost directly. And usually I do ad lib on the shows, I realize that, but this letter is too good. There wasn't much communication. I think this happens every year. I've been broadcasting for a while now, not so much on YouTube, but on other venues over the years. And of course, when winter's over, spring and summer hit, especially spring hits, you know, people want to be outdoors, etc., especially our kind of people who still love nature. So here we go. I really was in the doldrums, so to speak. I needed a good spark, and the youth have provided the spark. This is from a young man out west. Let's call him Bert. Hey there, Mr. Beattie. Sorry for the delay in response. It has been a bit crazy while, but educational to say the least. As I said when I first started corresponding with you, I've been snooping around for work to get out of this hellhole, multi-cult, thriving city. So my cousin calls and asks me to go check out Grand Prairie, northwestern Alberta. Jobs are going crazy, good opportunities. Curiosity killed the cat, so I had to go check it out. Now, a backstory of my cousin, 50 years of age. I'm the baby of my father's side, etc. Biker, trucker type guy, just an average blue-collar worker. Blue-collar guy. So we did our rounds for jobs, not too bad leads, but nothing special. Afterwards, we stop in this little hole-in-the-wall mama and papa type restaurant with great food. We are sitting there in the middle of eating food, and by the way, folks, I just got this email yesterday, May 4th. We're sitting there in the middle of eating food, and this little Oriental lady with a couple of younger guys comes flying in, singing and playing music. Sounded like a Mexican-style folk. Not too bad, but weird. She proceeds to come up to us as we are eating and tells Ed, Uncle Ed, Cousin Ed. I do make these little goofs, but I hope over the videos I get the main thrust across. You just have to ignore the little slips here and there. She proceeds to come up to us as we're eating and tells Ed, Cousin Ed, she's going to serenade us. Ed kind of nods, going, what the F are they doing? She puts a Save the Children ad in front of us. I read it. Now, this fellow reading this, he's just in his early 30s. I'm not even sure if his early 30s might be. No, I think he's about 26, actually. So, you know, matched with my gray hair, that's young material. I read it. This is a 26-year-old. Figure out what's it for, and throw it back at her. I said, F that crap. I ain't helping no colored babies, while there are white Canadians that could use the help as much, if not more. Especially seeing as they have the intelligence, our people, to actually do something productive with it, rather than wasting it on food for people that can't figure out what farming is. Well, needless to say, she jumped back, insulted, and was just about to start arguing when an elderly gentleman sitting in the local restaurant started busting a nut laughing so loud everyone diverted their attention to him. He then looks around and said, "What? It's just funny that of all people in here that has the balls to tell them to F off, it's the young punk kid who should be less educated than anyone else." End of quote. And just shook his head. So the singing group, the singing rip-off group, toddled on and we started talking. Now, my cousin hasn't seen me since I was about 14. I've always been headstrong and thought a little out of the norm. Yeah, because he dared to speak up. A little out of the norm. But was generally an easygoing, nice kid. So me saying that kind of startled my older cousin. I proceed to explain why I have the opinion I do. Now, before I go on, folks, I think, too, I'll give you a little bit of background of this young man. Like so many young people, he went through the rougher styles of white resistance. I'll just leave it at that, the rougher styles. But the rougher styles don't hit the real roots that are being blocked out with our tribe, British Canadian tribe. Not knocking other European roots or rougher roots. But what this speaker is thrilled with, we are working with awakened new young youth who are finding our old British folkways, our old British customs here in Canada. We may be living in Canada, but our roots are still British. Okay, back to the young fellow's situation here. So I explained to my cousin Ed how biased school in the city was, and how I came to this opinion that I just expressed to the Moocher Ban. Can you imagine? This is me speaking now. You know, you're sitting eating a meal, and you know the Moochers come right to your tables. Unreal. Well, through all this, and there's a lot of farmers in Grand Prairie, a lot of farmers. So this local, there were a lot of farmers in the local when our young Bert, let's call him Bert, exploded. Wasn't quite as rough and tough as Emma West exploded on the tram in Britain. But hey, Bert, he did a good job. Bert did a great job. We need lots of Berts. Well, through this, meanwhile back at the ranch, meanwhile back at the restaurant, the farmers were listening in, having their morning coffee. They ended up joining us and continued our conversation. Period. John Beattie sticking back here. I've said it in other shows. I firmly believed it all my life. Throughout history, revolutions are started by the young because the young don't hold back. They pour it out. They pour it out. That stirs up the elderly. And then, down the tail end, the middle class finally hit the bricks too. Legal, legal, legal. Heaven forbid. Of course, we're talking legality here. Just talk a bit of history. What has stirred the elderly in the past. It's always the young throughout history. But things are getting worse and worse and worse, John. Yes, they get worse and worse and worse. The dishes of humanity always get dirty, and I don't care what tribe. And they have to get cleaned up and washed so they can be reused and recycled. The white tribe seems to do a better job of this. Continuing with Bert. So through all this, the farmers were listening in, having their morning coffee. They ended up joining us and continued our conversation. Just on the business end. How places like the one we were in didn't have a chance anymore because of large companies giving deals and hiring cheap labor. This in turn sparked talking about the Royal Bank and their crap show, which we did a video on a couple of weeks, folks, a few weeks back. Check it out. There's only about 7 or 8 videos. Get the whole package. Have a good read. Back to Bert. Well, long short story, ended up getting the topic spun around in town in less than a day. We got the church bells joining in with us, folks. United Church across the street. And they're decent elderly people with the good old hymns that really did relate to our white tribe, let's face it. They don't pay any attention to the dogma and the liberalism of the church as such. They're very decent people in this white town, 98% white. Well, as Bert says, long story short, ended up getting the topic spun around town in less than a day. Well, you can imagine, I guess, Grand Prairie, I Googled it, probably 55,000 people. Very northwest Alberta. The old Peace River, you could read it all. Most people in the gossipy part of town were in full support, but they just didn't want to be in the front lines, more or less. So I mentioned the British People's League, BPL, in your videos. I showed them the one about St. George's Day. I showed them the one about St. George's Day. And Ed just absolutely lost it with thrill. Absolutely in love. Thrilled that someone was pushing our holiday. For once, an hour, he's got capitalized. Our, O-U-R. Our holiday, for once. Oh, me interrupting again. But that's just it, with a lot of young people in different I guess you said paramilitary. In Canada? Oh, yeah, the SWAT team's on your roof. The different young white pride groups. I mean, bless them for trying. But you've got to have common roots. I don't care the sub-tribes within the white race. You know, German Canadians have their heroes, and French Canadians have theirs, and British Canadians, we have ours. But we've been the silent majority. We've sat back and not pronounced our specific ancient heroes, symbols, saints, or what have you. So I mentioned the BPL in your videos. I showed them, especially the cousin. He lost it with joy, was absolutely loved and thrilled with someone was pushing our holiday for once. So that was the St. George's video, and that explains the massive hits and visits. I had to check with their friends at Candor. They're very realistic, very down to earth in the motherland to make sure that Johnny Boy, the coffee, doesn't make his head swell again. Because we got skyrocketing hits and visits after the St. George video. I thought there was a mistake. I think my Candor friend thought that I might be making an error as well. Because in one area you can check the statistics. It was showing 250, soaring from a regular viewing, you know, at the start, maybe 10, 20, 30. But up to 250 on the St. George's video right off the bat. It was astounding. And I think it's the place of the video when there's experts out there in the web world, you know, how to place your videos, get it known, etc. Well, I don't mind the slow, pokey route of people telling people. We build slow, build slow. So we're solid. When the time comes, we're solid. The Trojan horse. Everyone's asleep, and they might get a surprise in the middle of the night. There are people in the Trojan horse they never dreamed of. That's what our blind copy list is all about. So our young fellow Bert, this event completely changed my perspective on how my input can make a difference. I always wanted to get more involved and help save this country. It was up in another area that I realized I already am making a difference. Just talking about it openly and showing people there are like-minded people, and showing people there are like-minded people. Showing, telling, letting it out. Let the cat out of the bag. Let the white cat out of the bag. There's another option to the crap the media shoves down our throats. And the other option is the British People's League. Our friends out there. You're making it. You're giving me the confidence to keep on going, and I will till I croak. Maybe even beyond the grave, getting spooky. A few years left. Young people inspiring the old. As you are saying in your emails, people are a little bit ruffled right now due to everything that's going on, and it's coming closer to home. From this, our cause is spreading like wildfire. I was so happy coming home, I almost forgot how much I disliked it here. Well, that's the thing. You get in with us, you get in our blind copy list. We exchange lots of letters like this, but this is the best. This is the best we've had in a long time. We'll pick your spirits up. How do you get in the blind copy list? Email us at britishcanada@gmail.com. britishcanada@gmail.com. A few times. We'll exchange emails back and forth for a few months. And you pass the test, then you'll be admitted to the blind copy list. All friends, no organization, no memberships, just friends. Bert carries on. Anyway, I know this is a little bit more winded than usual, but figured you'd get a kick out of that little adventure. I agree with him fully. Your St. George's Day video was, in my opinion, the best one so far. Not building myself up, folks. I'm just saying we are on a roll talking about our heroes, our patron saints, whatever. You don't even hear about that holiday anymore. It's a good point to make in showing our culture is getting erased. At the same time, we can bring up any of the many Englishmen who have made huge contributions to world society. And spinning off of that, the whole idea of Empire Day by Condor. And spinning off of that, the whole idea of Empire Day by Condor, candour.org.uk. candour.org.uk. This is effing sweet. The Empire still lives. Just chuckling. This is from a young man not even 30. The Empire still lives. She's just a little hidden at the moment. Agreed. Agreed, Bert. I hope to be staying in contact a little more. More access to the computer should be easier. Keep it all coming. Loving all of it. Cheers, mate. And with Bert's terrific email. So, that's the scoop for today. We're going to call today's program The Young Still with the Program. Thanks for tuning in. Bi-weekly videos. We'll be at you in a couple of weeks.